today I have a really nice channel card which uses the Gemini dies. So I'll show you how to do that. And I thought it'd be nice to show the open petals flowers rather than the complete petal, because a lot of people ask me whether they can be used by themselves, and they're absolutely gorgeous that way. Just to run you through real quickly, the dies we'll be using. I have the Orange Blossom leaves, the Corvus from the Mini Gemini collection, and as I said, the Orange Blossom Open Petals for the flower. Okay, I thought I'd do a little cutting just to show you how it looks too. Your Gemini die, it's got a decorative insert in the middle and then two separate cutting edges, so you can decide which one you want to use. You can use it by itself like this, use it with one, use it with two, totally your call. For this card, we're going to use the decorative piece and one of the edges. So we'll pop that into place here. Tape it nicely. Now, one of the things you can do with the Gemini die is you can leave that edge out a little bit more to give it a tiny bit more emboss if you like, or you can push it in closer. Totally your call. Either looks really, really nice. I'm going to just give a nice tiny little border there. Try and get it even all the way across. Pop that on our cutting plate and run it through our grand caliper. All right, let's check it. That looks like it's cut absolutely beautifully. We're going to do a little bit of an emboss here. Just pick those off. Change that out. Put the die on my tan mat and the pink embossing plate. Run it back through. Okay. And let's just take off our tape. And I will give it a quick run over with my tool-in-one to remove some of the bits. That should take most of them out. Let me just tidy this. There we go. You can see how beautifully detailed that is. It's absolutely lovely. Now, to make a Frilly channel card, what you need to do is to cut 3 of these for the top and 1 for the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and show you that we've done these ahead of time. And one of the things that I find the easiest way to do this is to cut them and not worry about the sizing until you lay them together, and then you can trim the top all at once, okay? So I've got the first one done up with a little bit of mounting foam, so I'm going to go ahead and put that into place. Let's pop that over. And I'm going to center that right above my sentiment. I've stamped that where I think it should go, right between the two sides of the channel. Let me get that on there as straight as I can. So then I've got the next one here I'm going to put on with just a little bit of double-sided tape. I'll just add a couple pieces, one at the top and one right down by the bottom area. And I can just put that so it peeks right over but shows the first one out from underneath it. There we go. And then the third one, put that on with a little bit of tape in the same exact fashion. Now I trimmed these ahead of time, but like I said, when you're doing these, just get this part of it even, and then when you get them all taped together, you can trim them so the top is nice and straight. There we go, get that right about like that. And then you can give it just a little bit of movement by raising this edge a tiny bit. Okay, I think that's really pretty. A little bit of a bend to it. All right, then the bottom part, I've done one more with a very small edge, a little bit of mounting foam on that. And we are going to layer that right onto the bottom of the card. There we go. So you can see the nice Best Wishes shows right in the channel there. I'm going to put that onto a backing piece. I've done my piercing all the way around the edge. I've added a little bit of blue Dusk card to match with the background. And pop that into place. There we go. So now we're going to move on to the flower and the leaves, just as a decorative element. So a piece of blue dusk, and I'm going to use some wax paper on these. They're very, very thin, and it does help release dyes like this. So pop this back over. I've just got a piece of wax paper in between the die and the card. And I'm going to tape them so that the tape goes all the way to the card because the wax paper is very slippery. It won't stick to that. And cut one of each size of those. Check those. They all look good. And then you just have to remember to remove that bit of wax paper. Just kind of get your pokey tool underneath that. Get a hold of it. There we go. Peels right off. Get the other ones here. And this one, a little bit of wax paper on there. And let me get that last one off of there. Untape and poke that out. And one more with wax paper. There we go. Okay, so now I have my 3 flowers. I've gone ahead and cut, and I've done another set of them ahead of time. Let's pop these over to the side. So I'm going to glue my flowers together and just offset them a little bit. You can give them a little bit of forming just with your finger, or you can use a stylus and a padded mat there. These are very, very fine, so it's just easy to do it this way. I'm going to put a little bit of glue in the center of each one of those, just like that. And match them up with the mates I've already done ahead of time. Offset it ever so slightly so it looks a little bit fuller. Give that a second. That's pretty. Do this one, just like that. Get that on there. And the last one here. So I've got 3 of the flowers that are a little bit fuller and larger than the other ones. I've cut some smaller ones here already ahead of time too. Now the other thing I want to do is add some leaves. So I find one of the ways to do this and get a really realistic look is to use some of your inks. I'm just going in with some forest moss, and I'm just going to add a little bit of ink rather than using card. And you can see you get sort of variations in the way it catches the cardstock. So I can go back over, pop my leaf into place, bring my cutting plate over, and we'll tape that. And let me just tidy this one up. There we go. And we'll give it a quick cut. Okay. Check to make sure that that's cut well, looks good. One of the other things I like to do is add a little bit of ink over that, and you can pick up those veins. So let's remove the tape, but keep the die in place. I'm going to go back to our ink and our smoothie, and we can ink right over that and get a little bit darker on those veins, giving it a nice realistic look. There we go. And that just acts as a stencil. Okay, let's see how that looks. There we go. So you can see you get the veins coming through ever so slightly, and I've missed just a little bit of that tip there. We're going to add a tiny bit of ink. And what I would do is bring in a foam pad, and using a stylus, just add a little bit of shaping to these leaves just by pushing down into the center from the back of them on your foam pad. And I've got another one I've done ahead of time here. Now I did ink the back of the ones I've done ahead of time only because sometimes it'll show when you do some shaping. It's totally your call. You don't need to. You can just use them with the top. But it's nice. It's just a nice little touch to them. So I'm going to bring this over and we'll do some assembly. And I think what I want to do is cut them so that I can use some of the little bits. So I'm just going to do some nipping on parts of these so I can use different sections of them. That should give me a few to use. So go in with my, let's use some glue dots, place them where I want them, and then I can tuck the leaves underneath. And I'm just going to go right about at the edge of the top here. Put on my 3 flowers. And I like to use the glue dots to begin with, because if I don't like where I've placed it, I can lift this up, whereas a glue will grab very quickly. So if you're happy with the placement, you can go back through and add some glue. And just make sure it's nice and secure. Okay, let's pop that one like that. And start to move with some of these. And I'm just going to take some little bits off of these. You can add some glue around the edges. Just tucking it right underneath so it sticks out from underneath our flowers there. Top and bottom. Maybe like that across the edge. You have a little less room to work with the open petals, but I think you can manage to get the stems right under there and it still looks really nice. Pop some here. In fact, maybe just trim that a tiny bit shorter. One coming off that way. And let's do a little one from here. Trim just a little piece off of that. And place that coming off at that direction. Got a little leafage coming that way, a little bit more coming off the top, and I think a couple more around the edges here. There we go. And maybe 1 or 2 off the bottom here, just to add a nice little touch of greenery. That underneath there. Now I'm going to add a couple little accent flowers. I've got some tiny little ones done in blue, so I'm just going to pop them around randomly. And these are the small ones out of the Orange Blossom Open Petals. So they're really nice little accent pieces that you can do just to fill in, add a little pop of color there. And I think that needs a couple little white ones down by the sentiment. So I've got one that's a tiny bit larger. Pop that on there, and one that's a little bit smaller. And we'll just kind of overlap these ever so slightly like that. A few pearls in the corners, and I think that's an absolutely beautiful channel card. I think anybody would be delighted to receive that.